Hey, it's me, and welcome to MAFIA. Now, this caravan from Honduras has Choco's paw prints all over it. And when I say Choco, of course, I mean Valerie Jarrett, George Soros, and Obama. But Obama is certainly not the mastermind of it. But he is a community organizer, and he got promoted. You know, in the past, he was a rabble-rouser in Chicago, kind of like a skinny Al Sharpton. But now, because of the connections he made, he is able to do some community organizing on a grand scale. Now, I reported that Barack Obama went to Denmark, and the reason is, France is going there, countries are going there because Denmark has become the hub for contacts with Iran to sidestep the sanctions that President Trump put on Iran. And of course, Choco and the Obama Foundation are helping Europeans to sidestep those sanctions. And of course, that also involves John Kerry. But coming back to the Honduras Caravan, you have to go back to 2009 when Choco and the evil Hillary Clinton were backing this guy who was a socialist and very much like Hugo Chavez, and he was there in Honduras. And so this guy wanted to become a permanent leader like Hugo Chavez and change the constitution and all kinds of laws so that he could be there perpetually. And Choco and Hillary were supporting that, of course. A socialist dictator. I mean, that's what they wanted. But the Supreme Court in that nation, other government institutions, and the military said no. I mean, this guy was completely out of control. So he was put on a military plane and dropped off in Puerto Rico. And so Choco and Hillary were having a fit, and finally they couldn't do anything, so they just reluctantly said, okay, we're going to support new elections. But that means you have that guy and a lot of socialist activists or communist agitators left in Honduras. And you have the connections with Choco and even Hillary, and of course Soros Network. And so what is happening is that Choco is using those connections to do some high-level community organizing. And again, it's not Choco the mastermind. Believe me, he's not that bright. But the Choco operation, the shadow government, as you know, there is a shadow government. In addition to the deep state, people that are in government, and they're like deep inside of it, and they're always there, no matter who's president. Embedded, if you will. But I'm talking about a shadow government. John Kerry, John Brennan, Valerie Jarrett, Choco. I mean, they're running a shadow government. And they're telling other countries to wait it out, or they're asking for help. And that could be funds that go into the Obama Foundation. But in this case, they're promising a lot to some of these communists in Honduras. They're saying, okay, when we get power, we're going to help you to overthrow that government, and you'll be in power. And so you have all these communists there, and they'll do anything for Choco because of that promise. And they're probably told it's going to be in 2021. And so they organized a caravan. We're talking about communist activists in Honduras because of the link with Choco and Democrats, organizing, a few thousand people, and many of them could be the very communist agitators that want to help out Choco in our nation to, spread communism in our nation. And so they have this caravan, and they send them over, and of course it's timed so that they would arrive just before the midterm elections. But we're talking about Choco and the shadow government organizing an invasion of our nation. I mean, that is what they're planning. And we're talking about thousands of people, right, crossing the border, and all at once. It's really like an army. And I don't even care if they have guns or not. I mean, you cross the border, you're committing an illegal act. And not only that, it is political. I mean, this is Democrats using foreigners to interfere in midterm elections. In other words, Choco and this whole operation, they're interfering in midterms and using foreigners to do so. I mean, that is similar to Russian interference. I mean, this is Honduras communist interference in our nation's midterm elections. And so when our Donald the Great is at a rally saying, hey, somebody's planning this, somebody's organizing this, somebody's financing that, of course it's because he already knows, but you see the media coming out, it's a conspiracy theory. Or President Trump says this without evidence. You know, every article, it's like without evidence. And I noticed this MO. They used the same thing in 2017 when it was about the wiretapping, and you had all these articles. Without evidence, President Trump is saying this and that. Without evidence, or calling it a conspiracy theory. And when Trump mentioned the Democrats and Hillary being involved in creating some kind of a dossier, same. Without evidence, President Trump is saying this and that. Without evidence. It's a conspiracy theory. And that's what they're doing right now. So just by that pattern, you know that he's hitting it. And he's like right over the target because they're coming out with the same MO. And that is defending Soros, protecting Choco and the shadow government, because when a link is found and it is exposed, it's a big deal. But we saw from Spygate, I mean, Choco and Brennan, Valerie Jarrett, all of these people, they don't care about rules or laws or regulations. These are communists and they're activists. And so they don't care about our nation. All they want to do is spread communism. And I'm not even kidding. This shadow government, the Choco shadow government, it's a communist entity. Communist agitators and activists. And they formed a shadow government to undermine our current government. And yes, that's exactly what they do in African nations where you have Marxist groups undermining whatever government is in charge. That's what you have, yes, in Latin America and in Central America. These people all speak the same language. And it's about revolution. It's about undermining legitimate governments. It's about spreading communism. And they prey on very poor nations. And they use the people. And in this case, they're using these people like the former Caravan. And these people are being paid. You know, do this and do that, you'll be safe. And they don't know any better until they reach the border and they see the U.S. Marines. And then it's like, ay, no es bueno. And then